If things weren't big enough for you in your life and your career, The Last of Us, it's the biggest thing in the world.
Pedro Pascal, The Last of Us!
Nick Offerman, The Last of Us.
Goes to The Last of Us.
It's honestly crazy to think that just 2 years ago, HBO's live-action adaptation of The Last of Us was everywhere. I mean, dude, this show was awesome. It was a complete hit, a cultural phenomenon. The first 6 episodes of season 1 averaged 30.4 million viewers. That's insane. The first episode alone almost had 40 million total viewers, and the first season finale drew 8.2 million. Mind you, this was on Oscars night. A night where half of your audience won't be watching, they still brought in 8 million viewers. And most importantly, the show seemed to cater to both fans of the original games and new fans of the show. You know, it's important to say for the most part, but everyone on all sides seemed happy for the most part. For me, what stuck out the most about season 1 of The Last of Us was how effective the changes from the game were. Anytime a live-action adaptation of a game is announced, this is what fans are most worried about. How will this show differ from the original material in the games? You know, the material that you love. Will these changes be for the worse or for the better? A lot of the times for the worse, but in season 1, these changes from the game actually elevated the material. In fact, it completely justified the live-action adaptation as you were expanding on this story for the better, staying faithful to the games the entire time. Season 1, Episode 3, Long Time, is the perfect example of this. I find it insane that the storyline between Nick Offerman as Bill and Murray Bartlett as Frank is not in the game. Sure, I know Bill is in the game, and he does in fact reference Frank, but like literally all we get in the game is crumbs of their relationship, tidbits here and there. Bill references that he had a partner named Frank at one point, and we do end up seeing Frank's skeleton or corpse, but that's literally all. And this beautiful hour of television depicting their relationship is all new to the show. Man, this episode still gets me, bro. But my point is, none of this was in the game, and this is all new material, but it works. It makes the material better. This deviation from the game added an emotional dimension to a world that 90% of the time just feels cold and brutal. Literally the entire show is filled with loss and fear half the time. This episode reminded us what makes survival worth it, what they're fighting for. Love and connection, the freaking little moments. And to do all this was 2 side characters, ones that players barely even knew, was like such a bold creative swing, and it paid off massively. In fact, it showed us what this adaptation was capable of when it trusted itself to explore and expand. And let me tell you, it wasn't just this one episode. Throughout the entirety of season 1, changes were made that always seemed to be in service of character and tone. I mean, whether it was Joel's added depth was Tess. In the games, their relationship isn't necessarily romantic, or the emphasis on Henry and Sam's relationship. That was incredible, elevating their story and making it center stage. Elevating Henry's deafness and being depicted more prominently. And it was all for the goal in mind to recontextualize these iconic moments and make them better fit television. Now look, I'm not gonna go just hate on season 2 from here on out. Okay, there's plenty of that already out on the internet, and I don't want it to come across as I'm just hating on the season. But I think it's totally fair to express my frustration with the creative choices made in season 2. In the same way that the changes in season 1 benefited the story being told, the changes in season 2 took away from the material. Big spoilers for season 2 and The Last of Us Part 2 if you, I don't know why you wouldn't know about them yet, but spoiler warning. It doesn't make any sense revealing Abby's motives ahead of time before she kills Joel. Part of the whole reason this moment works in the games is you are just as caught off guard as Joel is. When he says, "You guys act as if you've heard of us before,"
I act like you heard of us or something.
you're just as suspicious as Joel and confused. It isn't until Abby reveals why she is doing what she's doing that you understand what's going on. I don't understand why in season 2 they decided to baby their TV audience and tell them Abby's motives ahead of time. Let us discover this the same time that Joel does. Let us be in his POV, just like in the games. Again, I'm gonna reiterate, I don't wanna come across like I'm just hating on season 2, but I just don't understand these diversions from the game, and they don't make any sense to me. The changes to Ellie's character, or don't even get me started on Tommy's character, I don't understand them. Now, I want to make it clear that I'm not sitting here and saying I wish they just followed the games to a T. I love season 1 so much because they didn't. They created their own world, their own spin on the story. But this just feels like doing too much, and doesn't make for good television. It doesn't. At one point, HBO had a certified hit on their hands. It's not an exaggeration to say The Last of Us Season 1 was a cultural moment. I mean, literally fans of the game and newcomers alike were all on the same page, coming together, praising the writing, performances, and the thoughtful changes that enhanced the story. It won, 8 Emmys? And it just feels like the magic slipped a little bit with Season 2. The showrunners started making choices that, rather than deepening the story, honestly just undercut the original material. And yeah, it didn't make it as powerful as it was in the first place. The decision to reveal key motivations and alter character arcs without any actual payoff, making emotional beats feel rushed or even unearned, it just created this disconnect. And that's why it's just frustrating. I was and still am a massive fan of what The Last of Us accomplished in its first season. And I genuinely hope the show can find its footing again in Season 3, because when it works, man, it really works. And the story that plays out in The Last of Us 2 in the game is still incredible. Honestly, I think it might be better than the first game. Come at me. I just want to feel that again. I want the show to live up to the masterpiece it started out as, and here's hoping that it can find its way back.